In this video, we will learn data analytics through a real-life project in hospitality domain. You don't need any prior background or knowledge of Power BI tool. In this video, I'm going to teach you three things. Number one, data analytics through Power BI. Yes, so you will learn Power BI in this video. Number two, you will learn a lot of important business specific concepts in hotels business. We have invited Abhishek Anand, who is a revenue manager in a big multinational hotel chain called Oyo Rooms. He will present his requirements and we will build a dashboard. So you will get a feeling as if you are hired in Oyo Rooms as a data analytics, and Abhishek is coming to you as a business manager and giving his requirements. We'll be using a dataset that mimics the real life scenario. And the third thing you're going to learn is how a data analytics project is executed step by step when you start working in the industry, right from understanding requirement to coming up with mockups and solution design, data gathering and modeling, dashboarding, discussing stakeholders, feedback, etc. This project was published as a Code Basics Resume Challenge project few months back. Many people participated and they won the prizes. This video is just a guided project where I will show you how I would build that project. So let's talk about the first step of this project, which is discussing a problem statement. For problem statement, go to codebasics.io. Click on resume projects and go to challenge number 1. Here you want to generate revenue insights for this imaginary company called Atlantic Grants. They have multiple 5-star hotels across India and they're facing a lot of competition from their competitor hotels. And you want to build this dashboard that can generate insights for the management. So you can read the whole problem statement here and you can also download this data set. So the data set that you download here will be a zip file. So let me just show you. And once you extract that zip file by just saying extract all, you will find this directory. So now let's look at all of these files one by one. So I will first show you the dashboard mockup. All right, so if you click on this PNG file, using the dataset that is given, you want to generate this kind of dashboard where you have different visuals, KPI, which means key performance indicator at the top, revenue occupancy percentage, etc., some weekly trends, and so on. Let me show you all this data. So let's first look at the hotels. So these are the hotels that Atlantic Grants have. Locations, see Delhi, Mumbai, they have these hotels everywhere. These are the specific property names and their types, business or luxury, etc. And then you have the room types. So they have total 4 type of rooms, RT1, RT2. These are just the codes for these rooms. And let's look at the booking data that they have. So if you look at booking data, or before booking data, let's look at the dates. Okay, so they have this date table where there is a date, month, year, and what type of date is it? Is it weekend or weekday? Because in hotels business, weekends, the hotels are generally very busy and full. So we need these kind of codes. We'll see how we are going to use this in our dashboard. Then you have the bookings data. Okay, so you have date by date booking data. So this is check-in date, check-out date, how many guests stayed, the room type, see RT1. Remember in the other file we had the meaning of RT1, direct or online, how much revenue was generated, how much revenue was realized. So we'll discuss all this concept with Abhishek, who is a domain expert, in the coming sessions. But these are all the files you have. You have one last file, by the way, which is aggregated bookings. So from bookings, we are generating these aggregated bookings where for a given property ID and check-in date, we have total number of successful bookings versus the capacity. So on this particular day, for this property, it had total 30 RT1 rooms available, but 25 got booked successfully. Okay, so this aggregated data is kind of generated from this fact booking data. This is more fine granular data that we have. And you have a metric list as well, by the way. So if you're looking for a formula or something, this list explains you the business concepts behind this, right? So occupancy percentage is basically total successful booking divided by total capacity. So if you're looking at aggregated bookings here, right, occupancy percentage for here, this one will be total booking, which is 25 divided by 30, right? Total booking divided by total capacity. Okay, we'll discuss all this concept, but I just wanted to quickly show you all the files. Okay, so now that you have understood problem statement and the data set a little bit, let's discuss the mockup with our domain expert Abhishek.
So Abhishek, this is the dashboard that we created as a mockup for you based on the data that we have. And how much of this dashboard is something that you can use out of the box, and how much of that will you change?
Thank you for sharing this snippet, Hemanand. I'm looking at the data, and at a very high level, this data is very, very interesting. This data can help me into deep diving into different categories. Like I really like the filters you have created, the city filter, the status filter, the platform filter. They are very, very interesting. And you have also tried to break down the business from revenue to occupancy to rating, which is very, very helpful in our industry. There are a few key metrics which can be looked at in the level 1, which we should add here. And my recommendation here would be one of our key metrics which we look at is called RevPAR. Okay. That should be added in this view. That is one metric. The other metric would be ADR, because that is a byproduct of RevPAR. Okay. So if you want me to explain RevPAR in layman terms, RevPAR is revenue per available room. Okay. And the simple formula would be total revenue divided by total rooms available to sell. That's it. All right. Okay. There is another formula by which you can calculate the same number of RevPAR. That is ADR into occupancy. Okay. The occupancy metric is something which you're already showing on the screen. Yes. So that really works. Yes. That is a simple calculation of number of rooms sold or utilized by the customers divided by number of available rooms. Okay. So say you have a 100-room hotel. On Monday, you had 50 customers check out. So for your occupancy for Sunday would be 50%. 50 rooms sold divided by 100 available, right? That is as simple as that. And the other metric of ADR, which I mentioned before, is called average daily rate. Okay. And this metric is basically the rooms you sold. What is the average rate you sold in them? Simple. So if you sold 50 rooms and each room was worth 1,000 rupees, your average daily rate is 1,000. Period. Clear. Got it. So the relationship between the RevPAR and ADR, if I understand it correctly, so your ADR is kind of the ideal state, right? Your ADR will be more always, right? And yes. Your RevPAR is RevPAR is what it says. Like if your occupancy is 100%, that's what you get in RevPAR, correct? If your occupancy is 100%, your ADR and RevPAR will always be equal. Okay, got it. Got it.
And so, for those who still doesn't understand RevPAR, let's say you have 100 rooms and 5 rooms are not in a condition that you can rent out because they have plumbing issue or they're not in order, then your available rooms are 95. And this can change. It could be so available rooms today could be 95, tomorrow could be 93, after that it could be 98.
Got it. So basically, just to elaborate on Dhaval's point, you mentioned a very critical thing in our industry. So RevPAR is revenue per available room, right? And he touched upon the available room part. So if you have 100 rooms in a hotel and say 5 are out of order due to any reason, so the actual available room count is now 95. So all our calculations are now done basis 95, including occupancy. So if you have 50 rooms sold, so your occupancy will now be 50 divided by 95 and not 50 divided by 100. And similarly, your RevPAR would be total revenue generated by the 50 rooms sold divided by total number of rooms available. That is 95 in this case. So available room is a very key metric.
Got it. Got it. So, so available rooms, Abhishek, is there any business term that you use it for available rooms?
Yes. So basically, like lightly mentioned, and this view would really benefit from that metric. In our industry, we call it SRNs. They are called sellable room nights.
Okay.
And we look at it on a daily basis. So the metric is now called DSRN, or daily sellable room nights, right?
Okay.
So that would be another metric that would be very helpful to look at. This would help us look at any specific issues, room blocking issues, maintenance issues in the future, right? So that is a metric we do look at. And that would be very, very helpful in this view.
Got it. Got it. And the sellable room nights, is it based on a monthly, or is it an average, daily average? How is it calculated?
So I'll give you a quick example, right? So let's assume another example of a 100-room hotel. And let's assume there is no issue in the hotel. It's a fantastic hotel. Everything is maintained perfectly. So every day you have 100 rooms to sell, correct? So if you say June has 30 days, that means every day you have 100 rooms to sell. So for the entire month, you had 3,000 rooms to sell, correct? 30 into 100, that is 3,000 rooms to sell. So that would be the sellable room nights for June. And if you want to look at the daily level, you would divide it by 30 and that number would be 100. So that would be DSRN in that case.
DSRN.
Daily sellable room nights.
Okay. Which one would be more beneficial for you to look at, DSRN or SRN?
I would like to look at DSRN in this current view. That would be really helpful.
Okay. Because there is another thing I would like to talk about, dashboarding in this front. So sometimes what happens is, like, it is very easy to keep as many metrics as possible in the dashboard, but that could, that will make things, a bit hectic and congested. And that's the reason why I've asked you this question, so that we can keep only the key metrics that really, really matters to you, rather than, like trying to have so many metrics. So just to summarize that, Abhishek, and also to the people. So we will have RevPAR, occupancy percentage, and revenue. And apart from that, we will also have DSRN, correct? So far, these are the top metrics.
And ADR.
And ADR.
ADR. Yes.
Great. All right. And okay, so that kind of covers the top level metric, or is it, do you have still a metric more?
So I think the metrics we've already covered are more than enough to understand the revenue performance of a hotel. There is another key metric we look at doing level 1 analysis. That is called realization. And to introduce this concept of realization, we'll have to look at two new metrics. Okay. One is not really new. One is a basic metric of URN, or utilized room nights. Okay. So basically, going back to the old example, if you have a 100-room hotel and 100 available rooms, and on say Sunday 50 rooms were booked and customers stayed, so those would be the 50 URNs, or 50 utilized room nights. So when the customer ends up staying at your hotel, we treat it as a utilized room night. Okay. There is another metric which is called a booked room nights, or a BRN level metric. Okay. This is basically, for example, you have a 100-room hotel, 60 customers made bookings, all right, and 50 ended up staying. So there is a gap of 10. These 10 would either be cancellations, because customers do have the right to cancel, right? Yes. And the second split is generally called no-shows. They are very common in our industry, wherein a customer does make a booking, but he doesn't end up staying, right? Due to any reason. He could have multiple reservations in different hotels, his plans could change, he could not cancel in time. So basically, booked room nights contains utilized room nights, no-shows and cancellations. And the metric which we look at, that is called realization, is basically URN by BRN. So we want to see, against the bookings we received, how many customers actually stayed, because that is the revenue we make. Got it. So in this URN, do you include no-shows, or is it kept outside? So BRN is equal to URN plus no-show plus cancellation. Okay. So in the realization percentage, no-show is not included. It's so in the realization, it will straight away be URN divided by BRN. Okay. So we remove no-show and cancellation. Yeah. I have a question here. So let's say a customer is, have booked a place and the person has cancelled. So maybe we give according to a refund policy, maybe we give them 100% refund. But in case of no-show, there is no refund, correct? We don't give them a refund. So why it is not calculated as a realized revenue? Fantastic. This is a very interesting question you've asked. And this has two parts to it. Yeah. The first part which you asked was, if there is a no-show, all right, what do we do with the revenue? So when there is a booking that is a no-show, it could be either in a paid status or in a pay at hotel status. We do give the customer an option to pay at hotel as well, right? So if it is a pay at hotel, you don't make money, right? Yes. Now, if it is a prepaid booking, depending on the policy of the channel you book from, booking.com and Expedia or any channel you use, they have very customer friendly policies. So sometimes they even refund you for no shows if you have a valid reason, right? Otherwise, they might keep the whole amount, right? But this whole amount, due to accounting purpose, is not considered in revenue as such. No-show and cancellation income is accounted for separately in a different part of the revenue statement. In pure revenue top line, we don't consider it. But yes, as a part of the hotel's bottom line, it is a very, very good source of revenue.
Got it. So the realization percentage kind of helps you understand, what is the actual revenue, that you have realized from the bookings. So it doesn't mean the bookings doesn't mean you have realized that revenue automatically, because cancellations happen and a lot of other things happen. Great. All right. Yes. So I think I've got my top level metrics now. I've got like RevPAR, ADR, DSRN, revenue, which is already there, and occupancy, which is already there. So that and realization, of course. So does that fit your needs to have the level 1 metrics?
Yes. And of course, the splits in our industry, weekend versus weekday split is going to be different, right? So you have made fantastic filters on the side.
Yes.
I think the filters we could look at would be weekend versus weekday. And in our industry, weekends are Friday, Saturdays. Okay. Not Saturday, Sundays. All right.
Oh, this is interesting.
Keep in mind, weekends are Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday to Thursdays are weekdays. So that split helps you also decide whether a hotel is a business hotel or a leisure hotel. So most business hotels have business throughout the week, right? And generally higher business on weekdays, but leisure hotels have higher business on weekends. So that is one more split that is very interesting to look at.
Okay, so I will have this key level metrics, and beneath this metrics, I will add a weekday and weekend split. I'll show the occupancy percentage, ADR, and other key metrics. We can customize it later once I create it. Once we meet for the stakeholder review meeting, I'll show you that dashboard and check with you. And I was curious, right? So when you have these KPIs in the top, do you also prefer to see the week-on-week change or month-on-month change beneath this metric, like the percentage of changes?
Okay, this is a very, very valid question and interesting for the people who are hearing this. So when you take decisions, right? When taking decisions, you need to look at data movement. Mm-hmm. And data movement can give you will get a view of data movement only if you look at weekly trends or monthly trends, right? So data to become information for me, I need those trends which you mentioned. So the trends, like for example, you're showing me occupancy trends on the current screen, right? This is very, very helpful. Okay. So this would be very, very important in the view you build. Try to build weekly views so that we can look at any trends and catch any opportunity we have.
Okay, I'll try to incorporate that trends within this dashboard, and I'll also show you the delta between the current week and the last week, so you understand. Maybe you want to take some decisions based on that change percentage. All right, and I think that covers a kind of level 1, level 2 metrics. And is there any other thing, perhaps like platforms or other things that you would like to analyze? You want to analyze the metric by platforms or something like that? So we have different platforms. Booking platforms.
Yes. So the end of the level 1 analysis generally ends by the channel level views. Okay. So looking at RevPAR, ADR, occupancy, BR, and UR, that gives you a holistic picture of what is happening at a property. However, again, using data as information, I need to look at channel level split. Like you mentioned, if you have channel level split, which channels the booking comes from, if there is a channel level issue, we can identify it only looking at that data. So if you have that, that is going to be fantastic. Very, very helpful.
Great. We can add that.
And folks, we have been using level 1, level 2 terms, but can you clarify it for the people who do not know what you mean by level 1 analysis, level 2 analysis?
Sure. Hemanand, if you are comfortable answering.
Okay.
Would you like to explain?
Yeah. So the level analytics are something, folks, that people, right? So when you want to know where the water is leaking, right? You just look at the level 1, right? And so level 1 metrics are kind of tell you there is a problem or not. So when there is no problem, you don't have to look at level 2. When there is a problem, so then you have to look, it's like, peeling an onion. So you look at the onion, at some part it is having a problem. Then you peel it to the next level. You know where exactly the onion is bad. So you just fix only that part. You don't have to throw the entire onion out of the, to the basket. And the level 2 metrics is where, like you understand, okay, which process is having a problem, or which channel is having a problem, or which city is having a problem. Let's say your revenue is so bad and only one city is causing that. So you can fix only that city. So you can talk to that particular city manager. So that's level 2. So within that level 2, let's say you have a problem with a particular city, and within the city you have multiple properties. Maybe 2 or 3 properties are having the problem. Not all the properties are having the problem. And then you talk to that particular property managers instead of trying to fix everything. And within these properties also, you might understand a particular room type is having a problem, right? So elite rooms are getting booked well, luxury rooms are getting booked well, but the presidential suites are having the problem. The presidential suites where people complain a lot. So you can fix only that. So it's again like a good dashboard, a good analytical tool should always enable you to ask whys, more whys, at least 3 whys. That's the standard. If a dashboard is not enabling you to ask 3 whys, then the dashboard is not a good one. So if I just show you the sales is 5 million. What does it mean? Like, is it good or is it bad, or are we performing well or not? So it should ask the whys. It should answer the whys. So if it is performing bad, why it is performing bad? Then I would say a city A is performing bad. Okay, why city A is performing bad? Because 3 hotels in the city A is performing bad. Then why the 3 hotels are performing bad? Because their particular channel is performing bad, particular room type is performing bad. It goes on like that. So that's how the level breaks in analytics.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, and Abhishek, you want to add anything to this? Feel free to.
No, I think the analogy of the onion was fantastic, and that is very, very easy for any layman to understand. And your logic was married with the analytics dashboard concept. I really like the explanation. I don't think I can add more here.
Okay, thank you. And so coming to the other levels, and see, since our data set, since we have like some 30 to 40 properties, what I can do is I can also list all the 30 to 40 properties in the dashboard in the bottom level, in the bottommost level. So that is the most granular level you can look at. So with this 30 to 40 properties, I can show all the metrics. I can show the revenue, RevPAR, occupancy percentage, average rating, which is something that we haven't used in the key metric. I can show all of them. Would that benefit you? You can also download that as a as Excel for another purpose if you need. How do you see that in the dashboard?
So once we look at the level 1 data, right, the data we discussed before, so deep diving or going into level 2 would be the next step. And there the property level data would be very helpful. So after looking at the onion, which part of the onion is actually having a problem, that data will help us look at that. And then we will actually solve where the problem is. So that data really helps in our level 2 analysis.
Okay, great. So I've basically, I think we are reformulating the mock dashboard now. I have really good number of changes. It's not like bad number of changes. I think it's like really impactful the way you have explained it. So what I will do now, I will go ahead with your feedback. I'll build this mock-up dashboard and then come back to you with the meeting. So we can talk on this meeting, and I would prepare the dashboard up to 80%. I'll keep some room for changes. So you can provide some additional feedback on that meeting, and then I will prepare the final dashboard. Does it sound good?
Fair enough.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Now that we have understood mockups, let's import this data in Power BI and start doing data transformation. You can run Power BI by going to your window and just typing Power BI desktop. If you have not installed it, you can install it from Microsoft Store easily. This is a free software. I will now import data by just saying get data here, more, and we are going to import the whole folder that we have. So I'll just click on folder and say connect. So all our files are in one folder, right? What folder is that? Well, go to browse, or maybe you go here and see I downloaded it, right? So here are all my files. I will just copy paste this thing here and say okay. Now you can just say transform data, and that will take you to Power Query. So Power Query is nothing but it's a place where you can do your data transformation. Okay, so here you are seeing some unnecessary files, but let's not worry about them for now. We are interested mainly in these CSV files. Okay, so here what you will do is you will say duplicate, and I will explain why I am doing that. So once I have duplicated, I can go to input files, and this dim_date file is the one I'm interested in. So if you click on binary, what's going to happen is it will expand that file. Okay, so on the right hand side you are seeing all these steps here. So see, we connected with the source, which is your input folder, and then we expanded that file. Okay, and see promoted headers. So promoted header, what it did is it made date, YY, etc. the header for that particular table, and so on. So now this can be renamed as dim date. So you got the idea, right? We're connecting with the folder, expanding particular file, and now this dim_date is available as a table in my Power Query. Once again, you see Power Query at the top. So Power Query is part of Power BI itself, but we use Power Query, this particular window, for doing data transformation, data cleaning. So I'm gonna just duplicate this couple of times, all right, because you probably got the idea why we are doing that. So right click one more time. Okay, now I'll expand the other table, which is dim hotels. So just click on it and see, it looks good to me, and we'll call it dim hotels. Dim rooms, click on it, dim rooms. Now here I'm noticing it did not promote this particular header. So you can just click here and just say use first row as a header. Okay, once again, see the header is column 1, column 2. The right header should be room_ID, room_class. And you can click here and just say use first row as a header row, and see, this is how it works. Once again, notice this right hand side steps. It's like step-by-step transformation. So you're doing your transformation here. You're realizing, right? We are already doing data transformation by promoting rows, deleting unnecessary stuff, and so on. Okay, if I look at my data, things are looking good, right? Now I will just go over all the tables and just kind of quickly verify a few things. So if you're seeing any row being not promoted as a header, you can fix that. If you're seeing, let's say, null values, you can clear that. So you can do all those transformations here. So I'll just quickly glance through it. Now see here in dim_date table, based on the conversation we had with subject matter expert, in hotel industry, Friday and Saturday are considered weekends. But actually in our table, the weekends are Saturday and Sunday. You can look at the dates and you can verify it for yourself. So I'm going to change this thing here. So day_type column is not useful. So I will just delete it and I will create it later on. Okay. So just go here and just say remove. So that column is been removed. It is always a good practice to kind of rename the step in a proper way. You can say removed column. Which column did you remove? Day type. Okay, that's it. And I will just say close and apply because these are the only steps I had. So I'll just say close and apply. And it will just take some time. So we were in Power Query. From Power Query, we perform our data transformation. Now we are back to our main Power BI UI. And here you can see all the tables. See here you can see all the tables here. They're looking good. And you can go to now data modeling. So in data modeling, you establish relationship between different tables. You know, in SQL, you might have heard about primary key, foreign key. So it is that kind of relationship that you will establish. We use something called a star schema where we put all the fact tables in the middle. Okay. And we kind of surround them with the dimension table. So the reason these are called dim_, means dimension table. Fact_ means fact table. I have explained fact and dim tables in some of my videos previously, but if you don't know, you can just Google it, right? So you can just say Google star schema. So what is star schema? So if you look at images, in star schema, you have fact table, which is your transaction. Let's say your sales transaction, that is fact. And then you have time, day, you have customer, product. These are called dimensions. So you surround them and you kind of connect them. And sometimes it looks like a star schema. For example, see this one. Right. So this looks like a star schema, and that's the reason behind that particular name. What you can do is you can go to manage relationship and probably delete all this relationship initially. So let's see what relationship you have. So you have property ID connected with property ID connected with property ID, which is good because these property IDs are they are related, right? So if you look at property ID in these different tables, for example, booking, right? So property ID is 17559. It's just a unique ID for a given hotel. See, 17559 you will find here. So sometimes it will establish this relationship automatically, okay, just based on the name of the column. And you can see all those relationships here in manage relationship. So if you want to delete them, you can delete them, but I'm okay with this relationship. But I want to establish new relationship. For example, this date here is linked with check-in date. So you can left mouse click, drag and drop here. Okay. Similarly, here also we have check-in date. So you can left mouse click, drag and drop here. So it is establishing one-to-many relationships. See, here you see little one and here you see star, which means for one date in dim underscore table, you might have multiple records in fact aggregate booking. Other thing I want to do is, let's say room ID. What is room ID? Let's take a look. So in dim underscore rooms, the room ID is RT1, RT2, etc. Okay. And that room ID is called here, for example, is called room category, I think. Room category. So if you look at fact aggregated bookings, you have a room category, RT1. Okay. Even in fact bookings also, I think you have room category. So room ID and room category are kind of same. So you can establish that relationship by saying room category here, and just make this a little bigger so that you can see all the columns. Sometimes it's small and its columns are not visible. So drag and drop to room category. So all my relationships are established, and we do this because when we do slice and dice and when we do dashboard building in Power BI, if it knows the relationship, it will automatically connect those columns and show you the numbers accordingly. You will see when we build this dashboard. Okay. But basically, we are now done with our relationship. You can once again go to manage relationship, verify that everything is okay. If you hover your mouse cursor over particular row, it will highlight this column. Sometimes people are doing fast drag and drop and they might connect the wrong columns, and you will see all kind of crazy things happen. So it is always the best idea to verify your relationship. Make sure your relationships are established properly. If your relationships are not established properly, in real life also, you always have a problem. Now we will be working in something called DAX, DAX, Data Analysis Expression. That is a way in Power BI by which you can create new columns and new measures. So let me show you. Let's go to our tables view. And in dim underscore date, I have these three columns, okay? Although I have week number column, I want to create a new column which has only the week number. I don't want W. So you can do it in multiple ways. You can either use this column and just remove the W, or you can create just new column altogether and derive the week number from the date. We have date, and Power BI has all the formulas by which you can derive week number from this date. I will right click and say new column, or you can go, see, if you don't want to just right click, you can go at the top also. Let's select this. Okay, you can create a new column by going here as well. And you will just say, this is week number is equal to week number. You see this formula? This is a DAX formula. And you can hit tab to complete it. And basically from dim date column, you can derive the week number. And see, now I have 19 for this week and so on. I will create another column. If you remember, we removed weekday column because weekday or weekend, we basically removed the day type column because as per our subject matter expert, Friday and Saturday are weekends. So let's create the column that can represent that concept. So once again, you can right click here, say new column. And in that new column, I will just say day type. Okay. So now what should be my logic? So my logic is, let's see what we have available. So we have this formula called weekday available. Okay. So let's see what this formula is doing exactly. So I will just type this in. So my weekday is nothing but a number, and that number starts with Sunday. So Sunday is my day number 1, Monday is 2, and so on. So what is the number for my Friday and Saturday? Friday is 6 and 7. So I can say if the weekday number is greater than 5, then it is weekend. So Friday and Saturday is a weekend. And then Sunday, it's weekday as per our subject matter expert in the hotel booking. Because Sunday evening, no one stays in the hotel. Most of the people stay in the hotel on Friday evening and Saturday evening. So here you can create this variable. So control enter, or let's see, is it control enter or alter enter? Alter enter. You can say variable WKD. This is how you can create a variable in DAX. So this is a DAX syntax. You can Google, by the way, and get all the help on the syntax and how to write these expressions. So this is weekday, and you can say there is something called once again alter enter. If you hit enter, it's gonna show you an error. If there is this if condition, correct? So if my WKD is greater than 5, then it is weekend. Otherwise, it is weekday. This is a formula, and you can just say return. See? So now if you look at it, what you're seeing here is Sunday is weekday, Monday is weekday, but the weekend starts with Friday, and Friday and Saturday is weekend, you see here, and then Sunday again is a weekday. What I have created here is 2 columns, and these are called calculated columns. So in DAX, basically, there are 2 concepts. Okay, in DAX, there are 2 concepts. One is calculated columns, and the other one is measures. So what we created is calculated column. It is like an Excel formula. In Excel, you can have formula, create new columns. We did exactly that. Okay. So these 2 are calculated columns, which is category number 1. Now we are going to create measures. Okay. And just to kind of summarize the flow till now, the way you do things in Power BI is you first connect with data source, which was your, our CSV files. Then you perform transformation in Power Query. Okay. You perform all kind of transformation. You remove bad data. You create new columns. So you can create new columns in Power Query as well as DAX. And then you come to DAX, and here you do these 2 things. You create calculated columns and you create measures. And after that, you do your dashboarding. So this is a typical flow. Okay. So we are here at this step. All right. So now I'm going to click on this icon and I will start creating my measures. Now I can create my measures here in these tables. If you click on these 3 dots, or you can create a new measure by just saying new measure. But I want to group them into a separate category. And for that, you have to use this. So you can say enter data. Okay. And you are creating key measures table. And that is nothing but just a category that you're creating. You can remove this column, by the way. Anyways, I'll just create a new column. Once again, click on new measure, and I will use that same formula. So revenue is equal to sum of this thing. Hit enter. drag and drop, and click on this card icon, and you see this kind of revenue, 2 billion revenue, and you can do quick verification. This is what I do. So first I'll go here and go to general properties and or maybe visual and just show some decimal points so that you can see the exact decimal point. So let's say my revenue is this, and this is the total revenue. So I can go to my Excel and look at the total and verify it quickly. So I will go to fact bookings. Okay, and if I select the whole thing, right? So the way you can select it, you put your mouse here, Control Shift down arrow, and it will select the whole column. At the bottom, it will show you the sum of that number, and the sum is 1.7087 something, and say 1.7087. So this is correct. You can also look at revenue from a particular property. For example, here, let's say I want to look at revenue from this property 16558. So the revenue for 16558 is 3.606 something. And you can go here in the dim hotels and you can drag and drop property ID and click 16558 and you will find, see, 36.06, right? So 36.06. So my measure is correct. I mean, that way you can do verification. Now let's create some other measures. By the way, I'll just delete this column 1 because that's not needed. So delete from model, and I will create the second measure. Again, click new measure. This is total bookings. So total bookings is equal to sum of fact underscore bookings and booking ID. Let me see. So what is total number of bookings? So for that, you can go to, so the booking ID represents one booking. So I should not do sum because this is sum ID. I should do actually count. So there is this thing called count. And I will do fact bookings and booking ID. You're just counting the records basically. Okay. You can also drag and drop and verify if it is okay or not. And similarly, you can create a new measure called, I'll just copy paste just to save time on the recording. And that new measure is basically, from aggregated bookings, you want to get the capacity because the total capacity is present in the aggregated booking table. So if you go to tables and if you look at aggregated booking, you have capacity. Okay, how much capacity of rooms every property has, and you can just do sum of that to get the total capacity. And same way you can do total successful bookings. So you can click new measure, total successful bookings is successful bookings, and hit enter. This way you can create rest of the columns. If you go, by the way, to the folder which you have downloaded, so if you check video description, we have given you all the files. Check video description carefully for all the instructions. We have provided clear instructions, folks. Read those instructions 2 times and you will get an idea. You should have all these files on your desktop. You should have downloaded these files, okay? And in these files, you will see this file called metricslist.xls. And when you open that file contains all the metrics that you need, okay? So remember, we created 2 calculated columns, W and day type. We have given you all the measures. So we created these 4 measures, okay? I want you to create the remaining measures. Because if you want to learn Power BI and you sit on your sofa and watch me, you're not going to learn it. You can learn it only if you practice. And I want to make sure you learn it, okay? For that reason, I'm not going to do all these things. I want you to create all these measures. See, there are so many measures, by the way. Oh my God, 26 of them. You have to create all these measures and you need to understand these formulas. Just use Google and just try to understand all these formulas. These are pretty straightforward, folks. Kids play, like divide. What is divide formula? It divides 2 numbers. Okay, If you find some complicated formula, you can just Google, and DAX has a nice documentation, by the way, so you can learn it. But exercise for you is you should have created all these formulas yourself. And I'm providing 3 PBIX files. So whatever work we did in Power BI, I saved that file as stage 1. And after that, I have saved this stage 2 file. So if you open that, double click and open that, that file will have all the formulas. So let's say if you get stuck or something, I have provided these files at intermediate steps so that you can just use it. So if you look at key measures here, you will see all kind of formulas. Okay. But don't use this file ready-made. I want you to create all these formulas. And in the next section, we are going to cover the actual dashboard creation. We are all set to start our dashboarding process. So I will first create the table here, which can represent various metrics. So for example, we can drag and drop property ID. So property ID here. Okay. So let's say this is property ID. And I will just drag and drop all the necessary columns that we need. For example, we need property name as well. And I'm dragging it and dropping it from dim hotel. See, the property ID is in aggregated bookings as well. But this is general guideline that in this tables, you should bring the columns from the dimension table. And they're connected with your fact table. So anyway, you will see the corresponding right values. Okay, so I dragged and dropped all the columns. So now I have a nice looking table here. I will also do one thing, which is I have noticed that in dim underscore date table, if you look at dim underscore date table, and if you look at the week number, see week 32 has only one day. You see this? Right, so I want to just filter because that might skew my dashboard. So I just want to filter week 32 because it just had one day. Okay, and you can do that by typing in week number in the filter. So let's put it in a filter box here. You want to filter basically W32. So W32 is gone. Okay, and by the way, you don't need this thing here. You can remove it, but yeah, what you have basically is you have week number as a filter. So week number filter will be available on the whole dashboard. So I had this thing selected, so I unselected it and I am just putting it here. So this is the filter for the entire page. So entire page, I won't see the data for W32. Okay, because see, when you select this visual, there is a separate filter. When you click on a blank area, that is the filter on the entire page. Okay, so I remove W32, everything else is checked. Let's go back to our main visual. So basically I dragged and dropped all these columns. Now, when you look at it, you have immediate thoughts in terms of formatting. For example, revenue. It would be nice if this is in millions, right? So you can select this thing here and you can go to the format visual and you will say specific column. So in that specific column, select revenue. So now I want my revenue to be having, let's say it should be in millions, and decimal I want it to be 0. I don't want the exact number like 36.5 million. Even if you tell me 36 million, it's okay. It gives you an idea, right? So see, now it's 36 million. It's kind of easier to read this way. You will do similar thing with RevPAR. So in RevPAR, what I will do is I will just remove the decimal. Once again, I don't care about the decimal, so I'll just make it 0. And then see occupancy percentage. All these percentage numbers, they are not formatted correctly. This is actually 70%, but it is showing you 0.7. So why is that? So let's see it, right? So let's first look at occupancy. So you can uncheck this and let's see occupancy. So this occupancy percentage formula that you have here, on the top, if you click on percentage, it will convert that to a percentage number. So see, now here you have a nice looking percentage number, and you can do the same thing with realization. So realization percentage, this thing is percentage, cancellation is percentage, click here, click percentage, average rating, click here, percentage. No, average rating is not percentage. Okay. Cancellation, realization, and occupancy percentage. Now let's look at other columns. Okay. So ADR, for example. So what is wrong with this? So in ADR and all that, once again, I want to have a 0 decimal, right? I don't care about this 0.63. So go to general, specific columns once again, and then ADR. You're realizing this thing might be a little boring, but don't get bored. DSR, and there's some manual work because you have to kind of format everything nicely. So all of these things are 0 decimal. Okay. All right. So see, my chart looks a little compact now. I also want to do one more thing, which is this revenue numbers that you're seeing. Don't you think it will be nice if you see a scale like horizontal bar, so that if you have two rows side by side, you can compare the revenue. Let's say one is 100, another one is 50, this one is half of it. If you have that visual comparison, it helps. You can do that by clicking on this visual once again, going here, then in revenue, you can click on this down arrow and say conditional formatting and say data bar. And in that, you can select the color of the bar. Right, see, if you just say okay, it's gonna use the default color. I mean, I want to use a different color, so I will just say conditional formatting, data bars, and here you can say more colors, and you can enter a hexadecimal value. So from the internet, I found this particular hexadecimal value to be, it's a nice color. So I'm just going to copy paste that, and when you say hit OK, you will see that color here. And you can do the same thing with the rating, by the way. So for rating also, I will say conditional formatting, data bars, more colors, and use the same color. Okay, so everything looks kind of nice. And see, these ratings now visually you can kind of compare based on the length of the horizontal bar. Let's maybe reduce a font a little bit. So you can just go to select table, values. Okay, you can go to values, maybe reduce the size of the font a little bit, not too much. And now my chart kind of looks nice and tidy. Now let me add some filters here at the top. So you want to add filter for maybe cities, correct? I mean, if you looked at our mockups, I think mockups had, let me see. So see, in mockup, we said, okay, we want to have some filter by city so that I can see this chart from various cities. I mean, as such, you have the city filter. So if you click on Delhi, no, but this one is showing Delhi at Grant. So I want a city filter. All right. So type in city here. And once again, use dim tables here. Okay. So you can say this one, and this should be a slicer. So if you go to here, you can see what kind of visual you want to have here, and the kind of visual you want to have here is slicer. So click on slicer here, and see, now you have a filter. So you can now filter results. So you can say Delhi. Now you're seeing only properties from Delhi, Hyderabad, and so on. I will make this a drop down. So you can just go to slicer setting, make it drop down. That way I can just select it. It's not occupying too much space. Kind of adjust the size here. And I will just change the title. And I will call it slicer header. Okay, so I'm removing slicer header here, and I'll just say title, and title is filter by city. So that way you see that title here. I will just copy paste this filter. Okay, generally you can just say Control C, Control V, and let's see what other filter do you want to have. So maybe by a room type. I mean, it doesn't say here, but maybe I want to have a room type filter. Okay, so room type. Let's type room. So it is called room class. RT1, RT2, etc. So you can drag and drop here. You can remove this city here. And see now Allied, Premium, etc. And you can just change the title pretty quickly here. You can say filter by room type. And you can decrease the font size just in case. 11, and here also you can make it 11. See, now because of the data model that we created, we created this data model and we established all this relationship here. Now, due to this data model, what's happening is when you create a light, the numbers that you're seeing here are only specific to that particular room type. Premium, precedence. You're observing this graph is changing. So these filters are working because of this particular data model. Let's create one more filter for the, let's see, for what kind of other filter. Maybe we need some kind of date filters here. So MMMDDYY, right? So MMMYY. I will create a filter for this thing. And here you can select MMMYY. And see, this formatting is not very good. Let me just make it slicer. So I'm creating slicer here. And in the slicer setting, just say tile. But see, these styles are kind of long. I don't want Sunday, May 1. So why is that happening? So you can go here and you see, although it says MMMYY, it actually shows all date because of the formatting. So here I'll go to formatting and I'll say MMMYY. And it shows like May 22 and so on. See, now it looks decent. So you have like 3 months to choose from. I can hide the slider, the header, sorry, not the slider. So I can hide the slicer. And see, when you click on it, it will filter that data. You see, it's changing. And if you unselect that, it will show you all 3 months. Let's create one more filter called week number. So remember we had week number. So these week numbers now, once again, this is a slicer and I want the type to be tile so that I can see this kind of nice tile, and you can hide the header. Okay, you can put it like this. And we'll do all the design work like adjusting size, etc. later. But overall, you can just do some rough work to kind of position these controls nicely. And then you can kind of give a finishing touch at later on. But when you select any month, see, this other filter will also get impacted. So you can say W19, W20, and so on. Okay, you can do quick data validation by going to your CSV file and filtering. Let's say you are filtering by Delhi and you want to make sure these numbers are correct. You can go to CSV file filter and do that kind of data validation. As a next step, we'll start putting our key performance indicator such as revenue at the top. So let's do that. So here I will type in revenue, drag and drop here. And this I want as a card visual so that you can see the number. I will unselect it and it will just show you the whole number. I will go to the properties and we will change the decimals. So maybe we can just do like 2 decimals here, and you can change the color as well. Okay, you can put some nice color here. You can say category label off. So I don't have the category label. You can, by the way, create custom title as well. So if you do, let me show you. So if you create a custom title, it looks something like this. You can play with the, alignment, etc. Because I wanted this label to be at the top. Because if you look at the dashboard, see, you want it to be the top. That's why I removed the pre-built header and added this kind of custom title here. So here for this particular visual, the font size can be a little less. Right now it's too big. Okay. Right, so this I think looks good. Maybe I'll reduce the size of this a little bit. Okay, I can also drag and drop revenue week on week change. So I want to put the change amount below revenue title. Okay, so let me convert this to, first of all, a card. And here, see, when you click on any week, this number shows a week on week change. Okay, so this label is kind of very big, so I'll just rename it and I'll just call it dot. The reason I'm calling it dot is because, let me just show you the final dashboard so that you get a clear idea. See, I want to have this kind of visual. See, 0.2 percentage, and if the number is going up, you can have up and down and all that. That is the reason I'm doing all this. So you will go here and change the size. So maybe 88, make it a small size. Also, let's see. I want this dot. This dot can be up somewhere. Okay, so I'm just removing category label here. I think that's probably okay. You can put this number here. Again, reduce the size a little more. And then now see, what I want is when this number is changing from week to week, if there is a negative change, I want to show some down arrow. And if it's for example, here's a positive change, so it will help if we can show up arrow. Here is negative, so it will help if we show the down arrow. So how do you do that? So you click this thing, okay, in the visual cell elements. Okay, in the visual cell elements, the visual. So let's see, I think I need to change this to this thing, make it a table. And in the visual, you see cell elements here. Okay, cell elements. And you can say icons is on. And in the icons, now you can type in all your formulas. So what you can do is you can remove all of this and you can say, if the value is greater than 0 and less than, let's say, 1000 percentage, then show me the up arrow. So here you can show the up arrow. You can have a new rule and you can say, if the value is 0, okay, then show maybe this icon. This shows like the value has not changed. And if the value is, okay, greater than 0 is this. So if it is greater than, let's say, minus 1000 percentage and less than 0, which is negative, you will see down red arrow. Okay. Here it shows something. Okay, greater than 0 is this. Equal to. Okay, if it is greater than. Sometimes it can behave a little weird. So you can just like just retry the whole thing. Just say okay. Now see, if the value is going up, it says up arrow. If the value is going down, it will say down arrow. And if it is, so select here once again. So you can just go to cell elements and just look. Okay, if it is greater than 0, if the value is greater than 0, then this. Okay, this looks good. And if you look at our final dashboard, we have done some more formatting where we have removed that line in the middle. Now I'm going to create a tooltip where you can see the revenue trend. So basically, if I hover my mouse cursor here, it will be nice if I see a nice tooltip where I can see week by week revenue trend. And the way to do that will be to create a new page, and you can say tooltip, okay, revenue. And here you can drag and drop your revenue, but I will not drag and drop. I'll probably create a line chart first. So I'll just say line chart. And in that line chart, my y-axis is revenue, but my x-axis is week number. So my x-axis is week number. Okay, so I see a nice line chart. I want to have a category as well, so that I know like business versus normal residential. So you can drag and drop this into Legion. So business versus luxury, what is that breakdown? So you see two different lines. And then you can turn on your data labels maybe, and also turn on your data markers. And in the page setting, you can say that allow to use this as a tooltip, allow to use this as a tooltip in some other visual. So now when you go here and when you click this and when you say tooltips, okay, tooltips this, see, it may take some time, but now it is showing kind of that nice tooltip here. You can adjust the dimension of this page, by the way, so that the tooltip doesn't look too big. All right, so I can have this kind of tooltip, and I can just change my filter, and tooltip and everything will get changed accordingly. I will create one more donut chart here, so you can just drag and drop the donut here. So just, or click basically, not drag and drop. And in the donut chart, in the Legion here, I will have a category. So category drop here. And in the values, you can have, what do you want to have? Maybe occupancy percentage, right? By category, you want to see occupancy percentage. So in the values, so this way you can see how much percentage is going into business and how much percentage is going into luxury. All right. Now I have showed you just few basic visuals. And now what I want you to do is build this final dashboard. I told you, right? Just by watching video, if you're not going to learn Power BI, you have to do this work. So I want to give you this challenge where you take this dashboard, and I'm going to provide you this file, and you create this kind of dashboard on your own. Okay, so if you go to the file folder that you have downloaded, you will see revenue insights in hospitality domain. So that is this file. That is the final dashboard. We worked till stage 3 basically. Whatever work we did, right? You have to take it from stage 3 to this final one. And we have given you dashboarding tips which you can use. We are also going to provide you a recording. So in the downloadable, you will see a recording of the entire dashboard building. So if you get stuck, you have a help basically. So I wish you all the best. I hope you can continue the work and finish this. And in the next session, we will represent this dashboard to our stakeholders and collect
I'm going to show you something very interesting. I think you're seeing it on my screen, which is the dashboard, based on the mockup that you developed in our last call. So I'm going to give you a quick demo on this one. And so you can see on the top left, I've kept all the key metrics that we talked about in the last call, right? And
Yes.
The good thing about this key metrics is like below this key metrics, you can also see the movement, like week on week change. So it means 18.5% here shows it has increased 18.5% with comparison to the latest week. Okay. And another thing is you can also see the trend. So if you just put your mouse above this key metric, you can see the trend, for the selected weeks, and you can see the comparison between the weekday and weekend as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is very, very interesting.
Yeah, and you can basically do that for all the key metrics for RevPAR as well. So you can easily understand, how the RevPAR is moving over weeks, and you can at the same time compare between the weekday and weekend.
This view is actually very helpful, and I had not thought of it at the first on the onset. We look at data differently, but this dashboard really has capabilities. So really like this view. This is helpful.
Great, thank you. And again, you can. I think you filter for a particular city because you don't look at all the cities at the once. So you can start by filtering your data here. And let's say you want to look at what's your favorite city out of this four?
Hyderabad.
Okay. So let's start with Hyderabad. And you can put the filter here, and of course you can use other filters, right? So you can filter for the room class, and I think I've kept this one as a dummy, right? You can choose the filter here. So basically, I just repeat the filters again. And if you want to replace this with some filter, you can tell me what filter you want to see. That I will replace it with that filter. And just to manage your expectation, this dashboard is 80% complete. So I want to show you a MVP here, a minimum viable product. This is functional. You can use it right away, and you can use it and give me some feedback. Then I would do some beautifications and I would do some final touch-ups and give you the final version. So this is not 100% complete. So you might see some things which are not finished, and this is like a preview for you.
Sure.
Okay. And of course, you have the monthly filters here. You can basically play between the months. We have 3 months of data as of now. You want to move from June to July, you can do it here. And based on what you select on a month, you would see the weeks will also get adjusted. Let's say you want to see the total data, not for any particular month. You can simply click this here. So you will see the total data. This is everything.
Okay. This is nice. You can see the last 3 months data in one shot.
Yes.
This is nice.
Yes.
This is very nice.
And tell me if I am correct in what I did here. So you asked for the weekday and the weekend split for the key metrics. Based on my understanding, I understood occupancy percentage, RevPAR, and realization percentage are like the super key metrics out of this 6.
Yes.
Would you like to add something more here? And how do you like this representation?
So the weekday weekend split becomes very critical in our level 2 analysis.
Yes.
And you have successfully captured the key metrics. There is one metric which is basically a combination of RevPAR and occupancy, that is ADR, which if added here can give slightly more details. Okay. It is not a big miss. It could really help. So let's try that view once.
Yeah, we can do it right now. It's a very simple fix. We can do it right now. Let me add that for you here. So you would want it in the last, right? Like in the end. Or you can change
how? So if you can change the order, right? Yes. Put RevPAR first.
Yes.
Then occupancy, then ADR, and then realization.
Yes.
This is good. This is very good.
Yeah.
This really helps.
I've added the platforms, the booking platforms. I think you call it the channel. Yeah. And
yes.
So we can also name this as a channel. And you can see that the trend of not the trend, I would say. It's more like how it behaves across different platforms, different channels, direct bookings,
ADRs and realization.
Yes.
Okay, you have put that. Can you filter it without the city? I'd like to see the overall data.
Yes, sure.
Because that was.
So for filtering the city, just to let you know, you can just come to this place and click this button. It just clears the selections. So you basically see everything back now.
Fantastic. And we were looking at a month level data, or let's just pick 1 month.
Yeah, I'll just pick June.
Fantastic. Great. This view is helpful. So I think you have successfully covered all the level 1 data.
Yeah.
And also, I think this dashboard helps me do some sort of analysis where I can already take decisions. This is very helpful for me. I will give you a quick example, right?
Yes.
So we have different levers to improve revenue business in the hotel industry. And one of the biggest levers we have is pricing.
Mhm.
So I'll just give you a quick example what I mean by that. So for example, you go on Amazon, you want to buy a pair of shoes, right? And today those shoes are say worth 10,000. You wait for a sale and you end up buying them for say 8,500, right? That is the best deal you get. In the hotel industry, I can sell a room say on a weekday for 10,000,
Mhm.
but on peak days, I can sell that same room for 20, 25, even 30,000, right?
Yes.
The rule of demand and supply and price elasticity is very different for the travel and tourism industry
Yes.
versus the product industries, right?
Yes.
So looking at the dashboard you have prepared, if you see the trend by key metrics table you've made, right?
Okay.
So there
make
you
this
have,
bigger?
I would want to see it slightly more focused if
Okay.
it can be made.
Yeah. You can see it.
This is good. So you have successfully mapped RevPAR, ADR, and occupancy week on week for me, correct? And looking at this data, you can see RevPAR is fluctuating, right?
Yes.
RevPAR is a byproduct of rate and occupancy.
Mhm.
But looking at this data, it is evident that this hotel does not use any pricing strategy. What I mean here is they have a fixed pricing strategy, correct? And generally, May, June, July, if you can show me the entire 3 months, if you don't mind.
Yes. I'm just drilling it up, and I would just take this out. So you would just see the 3 months data here.
So can I see it weekly?
Oh, you want to see it weekly? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, which would show it weekly.
So now, if you see this data, right, occupancy is fluctuating week on week, which is very possible, right? However, your rates have not fluctuated at all. And May, June, July in India is generally summer holidays. Kids don't go to school, people travel a lot, right? So I would expect rates to fluctuate during the season, correct? Now, this hotel, looking at this data, evidently does not use dynamic pricing. They are probably selling their rooms at a flat rate of say 10,000, 8,000, 12,000, whatever is
Yes.
the city and whatever is the hotel. So this shows you clearly there is a huge opportunity at this hotel if they have the capabilities to adopt dynamic pricing.
Yeah.
Not only dynamic pricing, they can even use weekday weekend pricing, wherein, for example, on weekdays they sell the rooms for 10,000 and on weekends they sell it for 14,000.
Okay.
To take that decision, I would like to see another data which you already shared. Can you minimize this one?
Yes. So just to summarize on the previous one, Abhishek, by looking at this flat line, right, ADR flat line. So we have 3 lines here: RevPAR, occupancy, and ADR. So RevPAR is changing because occupancy is changing. That's the only reason RevPAR is changing. But ADR is constant, which shows that we have a flat price. We don't have a dynamic price in our current data set or in this current hotels. So which is an opportunity.
Yes.
Okay, great. That's very interesting to know. Okay. And it's very interesting to know that how you use the data. I kind of know that this data set has the same pricing, but the way you use the data to take decisions, right? Even if there is a minor fluctuation in ADR, you would be able to understand that, okay, there should be more fluctuations in ADR, like proper fluctuations in ADR, so that you know that you keep the pricing right. I don't mean to say that fluctuations should be there, but fluctuations in the right place. When there is a season, you should see the price hike there, correct? The average ADR should increase, correct?
Yes.
All right.
So basically, the 3 types of pricing most hotels use are: first is flat pricing, wherein we don't change prices at all. The second is weekday weekend pricing, wherein we have a different rate for weekdays and different rate for weekends. And the third would be dynamic pricing, wherein your pricing would change basis occupancy, could change basis competition rates. There could be multiple subsets of dynamic pricing, right? I want to check whether this hotel is on flat pricing or is he even using weekday weekend pricing. And to see that, we should look at the table on the left, the weekend weekday data you shared. And if you can maximize this, when you look at this in isolation, right, your weekday and weekend RevPAR is different, and it is only because the occupancy fluctuates. Your ADR is almost equal, right? So this shows that this hotel is not only not on dynamic pricing, but they have not even made their weekend pricing different because the rates are marginally different, right? 200 rupees, 400 rupees. No, it's not even 100 rupees. It's less than 50 rupees.
Yes.
So the biggest opportunity this chain has probably is that they can price their hotels, which are leisure hotels, with a weekday and weekend pricing. That is a decision you can tweak looking at this data alone.
Okay, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
And by the way, we did not select a specific hotel here, but Abhishek's point was, let's say if you select a specific hotel and then looking at that data in isolation, the thing that he mentioned are the kind of conclusion that you will derive out of that data.
We can take an example. So let me take an example. See, I want to look at the hotel where we have the lowest occupancy. Okay. So basically what I can do, I have all the data selected. I have no filters. Basically, I'm just selecting this metric. So when I select this option here, what it does is like it sorts from top to bottom, from the most occupied place to the lowest occupied place. If I select it again, it's a toggle. It will show me the least occupied place, right? Which is Atlic Grants, Bangalore, which has the least occupancy, which is 44.3% on an average for the 3 months. So now I have selected this hotel. So now you look at it, right? I asked the first why my business is not doing well. And the second why is like I'm checking on the occupancy. Third why is like I would look at my pricing strategy on the weekdays and weekend. So I've selected this hotel now, which is Atlic Grants in Bangalore. And if I look at the data here, right? I think the hypothesis which we had earlier is also the same here. You can see there is no difference between the ADR on the weekday and the weekend. It's almost the same. And again, this is an opportunity. And do you think, Abhishek, that ADR has an impact on occupancy as well? I know it's a multivariate equation. There's average, the rating is also there, the service is also there. But how does the pricing influence the occupancy?
This is one of the most asked questions in our industry, right? How much should I price my room at? And how much should I increase my price? And how much should I decrease my price? The question is, are we leaving rupees on the table, right? Could I have sold the room for 12,400? Could I have sold the room for 12,800? So there is never a perfect answer for this question, to be honest, right? But it is a fact that when you drop rates, you do see a pickup in occupancy.
Yes.
When you increase rates, you do see a drop in occupancy. That is a fact. Yes. There are few markets that are inelastic and few markets that are elastic. This is a slightly more complicated concept. But most hotels, if you drop rates, you will see a pickup in occupancy. That is true.
Got it. That's a very simple, straightforward funda. I think that's basic. Okay. And so likewise.
So I'd like to take one opportunity to pick Atlic. I really like this example you picked, right?
Yeah.
And you have picked the lowest occupancy hotel, right? So generally we use the Pareto principle, if you understand 20-80 rule, right? So you pick up the bottom performing hotels, right? And they are your biggest problem statement. If you solve them, your overall business goes up, right? So for this chain, you have highlighted this Bangalore specific hotel and you are showing me the occupancy is lowest for this hotel, correct?
Yes.
Now, ADR could be an opportunity. But for that, we need to go into level 3 and level 4, wherein we have to first see what is the star rating of the hotel, right? Is it a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star? What sort of room categories do they have? Do they have luxury rooms? Do they have non-luxury rooms? Do they have premium rooms? Then you have to look at the location of the hotel. Then you have to look at the amenities of the hotel. So that is what we mean when we do a level 3, level 4 analysis. And then we come upon a pricing strategy, right?
Yes.
But looking at this data purely, there is one insight that is very, very visible. That is, you have filtered the occupancy from lowest to highest. Yes. Coincidentally, if you see the average rating of the hotels, yes, they also seem to be from the lowest to the highest. Today, the market is such, right? You, me, all of us, anybody who buys anything online, we are drastically affected by ratings and reviews. And in our industry, and most of the channels you have picked are online channels, right? So most of the products that are sold online have a higher probability of selling if your rating is higher. And it is evident that this hotel is either not working on their ratings or they are actually struggling with the service they are providing. So that is a good opportunity they have. They should look at the ratings, reviews, read the problems. Customers are very helpful today, right? Customers share photos, they share videos, they share specific issues. They share that I did not like the breakfast. That is the level of details the customer gives you. So this hotel should do a double click on why the rating is bad, because they have hotels above 3, right? I can see that.
Yes.
So why is this hotel as a 2.3, right? So it is the same hotel. I think you have hotels at 4.2, 4.5, and they have fantastic occupancy, right?
Yes.
So there is a very strong correlation between occupancy and average rating.
Yes.
That is evident by the data you have prepared.
Yeah, and I also see that coincidence with the cancellation rates as well. So when the occupancy is low and the rating is low, the cancellation is also quite high. I feel that people kind of book this hotel just to secure a place, and they just keep it as a second option. Probably they just cancel it after they find a better option, and that's the reason they cancel. The hotel is the best. Probably they don't cancel it. My insight. Maybe I'm not sure if it is.
No. So what you are mentioning is a very common thing in the hotel industry. People generally, when they travel, they do make a couple of bookings, right? If the cancellation policy is flexible, they can make 2 separate bookings. But there is one more thing which we observe is sometimes when a customer reaches the hotel, right, he does not get what he is promised, right? The online content is not up to date. The photos are not up to date. The service is not up to date, right? And then they have a really bad experience even before check-in, right? They're like, this is not the hotel I booked.
Yes.
So they cancel it the moment they reach the hotel. They're like, I'm not staying here, right? I'm not paying 12,500.
Just by looking at the face of the hotel or the parking area surrounding, they're like, okay, I'm not staying here.
Absolutely right. This is what customers do because they're paying money, right? They want the experience they were promised. So your average rating again will dictate all that, right? There is a possibility that your online content is a mismatch. For example, you are selling a iPhone, right? And you give the customer a Chinese phone. So clearly, there is going to be a gap, right? So the content has to be right. Most of the hotels do struggle with having a good content online. It is not as easy as you might think because you have mentioned at least 7 different channels this hotel is listed on, correct?
Yes.
So let's assume today you have a new room category you have added and you took photos of that category, but you were not successful in updating it in all 7. So there will be a mismatch, right? So being up to date online is also very, very important in today's world.
I agree. Again, I think coming back to your original point, it's all Pareto's principle, right? Just to explain what's Pareto's principle to the viewers. So just imagine 80% of the problems are caused by 20% of the hotels. That's the assumption. Or 80% of the impact, 80% of the revenue is also brought by the 20% of the hotel. So this rule works in most of the things. So if you think about the all the efforts that you're making, 20% of the efforts that you're making will give the 80% of the output that you achieve, right? This mostly works. This rule mostly works. It is derived by Pareto and it mostly works in your life. And so that's the reason why we look into the bottom 5. I've built various dashboards and insights in my career, and people always look to the bottom 5 and the top 5 to understand from the best, or the top 20%, the bottom 20%, to understand what's working well and to understand what's not working well. So that's I think that's a great insight. All right. And is there any other optimizations or any other modifications that you would prefer in this dashboard before I give you the final version?
I do like the property by key metrics view. This has already helped me take a decision. You have also mentioned realization. Fantastic. Can we quickly double click on the realization and ADR by platform view you have created?
This one?
Yes. Okay, so your ADR is, and can I see which is the channel? The channel tagging is below?
Yes.
Okay. So your ADR fluctuates by say 150 rupees, right? The lowest you're selling is around 12,650 and the highest is 1280.
Yeah.
So just to give you this is direct online and that is direct offline?
Yes.
So generally, right, another opportunity this hotel has is, so you have different channels you sell your property, right? You sell it on different websites and you have your own website. Everybody today has their own website, correct? And most hotel owners and most hotel partners and most businesses sell cheapest on their own channel, right? Because there the commission is the lowest. They don't have to pay any commission, right? However, in this case, if you see, their offline channel has got the highest rates.
Yes.
And their online channel rates are also the lowest, but not very low. Because they are not giving commission, they can actually drop the rates by a few 100 rupees more to generate more revenue from their channel. That's a very good strategy and most hotels use it. This view has helped me understand that they are not even using differential pricing on their own channel, which most people do.
Okay, I think the major issue that can help this hotel chains is the pricing strategy. So they don't have a weekday pricing strategy or a dynamic pricing strategy or the differential pricing strategy between the channels. So I think that's a lot of insight the major thing that they can do right now is to fix the pricing strategy.
Just a quick pointer on that, right? I think I should have explained it slightly better. So channel level pricing, right? So you have mentioned 7 channels. You cannot have channel level pricing different. I'll tell you why.
Sorry, I meant Yeah, I understand the point. I meant the pricing difference between your own channel and rest of the channels.
No, you can't even do that. You can't do that. What happens is, if you, for example, sell lower on your channel and slightly higher on Make Your Trip. So Make Your Trip today runs bots. They will go to different websites and they'll start scraping your prices. They will get to know you are selling cheaper on your channel. So they will stop listing your hotel at a high ranking. They will start dropping your ranking. So the strategy here is not pricing, but promotions. So you have discount coupons on different websites, correct? So if someone lands on your page, your public price could be same, but you could say, example, give a 5% additional coupon to someone who books from your website. So that is something you can do without disrupting the entire pricing flow. But I would not suggest pricing to be different on different channels. That is going to be counterproductive.
Yeah, thank you. That's an amazing insight. So which means that you won't have an outright pricing which is lesser than the other channels, but you would have discounts at the checkout page, which the bots might not be. Yeah.
The bots cannot get logged in prices, right? Once you log in, you use promotions. That is not possible. And so for example, even the other channels, right? So for example, you have Make Your Trip, right? Or Make My Trip. These websites have holiday packages, correct? Yes. They give you flights and hotels together. So they already discount the hotels. They do some price undercutting, but that is if you buy entire package. So as a own channel, I would expect them to have their own promotions also, right? They can even for the same rate start selling additional 2 bottles of wine, right? So that could be a promotion. They don't need to drop rates. They can give they can give them chocolates. They can give them complimentary night stay. You can do whatever you want, right? Pricing is just one lever.
That's an amazing insight. That's great. I think we have covered all the pieces of this dashboard now, and you have given really amazing feedback and insights. I think that was really the best part of this conversation, where you said how you would use this dashboard. And for people watching who are data analysts or wanting to become a data analyst, always ask right questions to your stakeholder to understand how they're going to use the dashboard. Without understanding how they're going to use the dashboard, what impact it will create on the business, you will not be able to create the best possible dashboard or best possible analytics tool for them. So it's always important that you ask the right questions to them and to understand the impact after delivery of the dashboard, what's going to happen. So that will form as a feedback loop to help you in preparing a better dashboard and serving the business better. That's how you should see this thing. So that's great, Abhishek. So before we close, do you have any closing comments or any thoughts, further feedbacks?
So I really like the fact that you explained how data analysts should think and how they work, right? And I work a lot with data analysts nowadays. And I had the exact same feedback which you had given, right? Yes. Wherein it is important to create your view. It is very, very important because that stimulates your thinking, that stimulates creativity, and that also helps the business to take decisions. Yes. But there has to be communication. Like the way we built the dashboard, you come up with the first view, I give constructive feedback, you incorporate the feedback, but you do not stop your creativity. I really like the few things you've done on the dashboard. Like, for example, if I click the DSR and I can see the week-on-week trend, right? Yes. I was not expecting that. I did not know I needed that, right? Yes. But it is important to marry the thoughts of a data analyst and a business person to create a strategy. Neither one of them is correct. The successful strategy is always going to be a mix of both of them. So that is what I really liked about your approach.
That's an amazing, summary of this session, because most of the times the business stakeholders won't know the art of possible, what's possible in a dashboard, what can be created in a dashboard. So they can't say everything. And the same goes with the data analysts. They won't know everything that the business would need. So the right strategy is always a mix, the conversation where both their insights blend and create this final product, right? That's a great input. So all the budding aspirants looking into this, the people who are already working as a data analyst, please make sure that you have enough conversations with your stakeholder, make them your best friend, and vice versa, so that you can create the best possible outcome, with this collaboration. So I think that's it from our end. Thanks a lot for watching. So any closing comments from anyone before we kind of wrap this up?
Nope, I'm all good. Thanks, Abhishek, for spending time for this amazing conversation.
Thank you, Hemanand. Thank you, Dhaval. Very, very, very interesting conversation. And this really stimulated even my thoughts. And I really like these dashboards. We don't use them. I think we should look at exploring on how to use this in our day-to-day lives. But really appreciate this.
Yeah, you can
Thank
contact our commercial wing if you like to create dashboards like
Sure.
this. Yeah.
Take our services.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.
I hope you had a great time learning through this real life data analytics project. Now comes the most interesting part, which is an exercise for you. And by working on this, you can win prizes. So what you need to do is finish the dashboard, okay? And then change look and feel of that. So maybe use some different colors and some different styles. And then add 2 new visuals which can help Abhishek, our subject matter expert, in terms of his needs. So you have seen the stakeholder review. So based on that stakeholder feedback, add 2 new visuals or metrics in the same dashboard. Once you have prepared all of that, you can create a LinkedIn post and you can create a text post as well as video presentation. So we are going to provide a sample LinkedIn post in the video description below and talk about your learning in this project and talk about the 2 new visuals that you have added and what kind of insights it is generating. Okay, so write a nice LinkedIn post. This will be an opportunity for you to improve your English communication as well. Tag me and Hemanand, my LinkedIn profile, Hemanand's LinkedIn profile. Everything is provided in the video description below, and use hashtag Code Basics Analytics Challenge in that LinkedIn post so that we know that you have posted. And if you like your submission, you're going to get prizes. I wish you all the best. If you have any questions, post in a comment box below. We have a Discord server where we have a channel called Resume Project Challenge. So if you have specific question, post there. Someone will help you. I hope you had a great time learning here, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, share this project with your friends so that they can also learn. Thank you.